Nomad's great for lots and lots of different types of sculpting, but it's also good for doing things like comic style art. We use something called a Matcap, and in this video I'm going to show you how to quickly make a Matcap and do your first one, and then you can test it on all of your models and see if you can come up with a kind of comic book look for your own characters. So if we want to get a comic style look in Nomad, we're going to have to use something called a Matcap. And Matcaps are in here. If you look up in the shading, don't have this on, which is PBR, which is physically based rendering. We look for Matcap here. And there's lots of Matcaps built in, and there's a few that I've made for this exercise and a few that I've downloaded from a couple of these here from a guy called Pablo Gomez Munza, who's a big ZBrush artist and well worth a look, and have a look if you can get some of his Matcaps if you go onto Gumroad. So we're going to make our own, and what we're going to do first of all is we're going to have to switch out of Nomad, and we're going to switch to a program called Procreate. Now Procreate's like a version of Photoshop that you use on the iPad. I prefer it to Photoshop on the iPad. I find it quite flexible and works really well with the Apple Pencil. So make a document, whatever your software that you're using, even if it's Photoshop on a PC or a Mac, make a document that's square. So this is 2048 by 2048. We've got layers in here, so I'm going to make a new layer, and then I'm going to make a selection, and I'm going to make a spherical selection, and then let me just zoom out a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. I've got a spherical selection, oops, wrong tool. And we're going to go all the way to the extents of the document. And what that means is now I can just flood fill that. I just flood fill with a colour. I'm going to use the red. So we'll make a red material for this guy. And what we can do now is if you, certainly on Procreate, you can do what's called an alpha lock. And that means I can only paint on those pixels now. So we're going to paint a little bit of extra things on there. So one thing I can do first of all is duplicate that, and then I'll just make this tiny, and I'll just change the color a little bit. We'll just go brightness and contrast. Just want it on the layer. This is a new version of Procreate that's just come out in the last couple of days, so let's just make that brighter on the edges and slightly lighter in the middle, like so. So that works really well for me. And then what we want to do is then make sure that that layer's got the alpha lock on, which it has. And we're going to just paint black across the bottom edge. So that'll leave below it, that will leave it the red ring that you've seen. And above it, on this layer, you're going to get this black edge that goes all the way around there. I'm not going to do a lot on this texture because we're going to adjust it a little bit later, but have a look at how it works on the first one, and then we'll take it from there. So we've got to probably start with a harsh line first of all, and we'll see what that looks like so. And what we'll do is we're going to save that as it is. So we want to go to share JPEG. Doesn't matter really what you save it as. We're going to go save to files, and you have to put it in a certain place. So you want to come up to your iPad, as I've just done, and you want to go to Nomad, and you want to save it in your Matcaps there. And we're going to call this, we'll just call it Red 1. Let's clear it off. Red 1, simply to make it easy for us, and we'll save that in Matcaps. So that's that one done. Now if you want a specular highlight or a highlight of any kind, then what you can do is make a new layer, and we'll just put in a highlight up here. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm going to show you whether we need that or not. I don't know. I'm doing a blob first of all, and then I'm going to delete it back like this. And it looks like it's going around the sphere, like so. So that's now the same thing. We're going to save it again and call it Red 2. You've got the same exact same texture, but with a little glossy glow on it. So that will look totally different as well. That'll look a little bit cartoony, but more like a red apple, kind of cartoon red apple. So Matcaps, I'm going to call that one Red 2. Save it. Now we're going to try one other thing. What you might want to do is do something like have like hatching or cross hatching. So let's do another layer. In fact, we'll turn that white layer off now. And then on this layer that's protected, we'll start drawing some, in fact, we can do it with a selection tool. So we can select freehand and we'll just do this. And what that's going to give us is a zigzag edge. And we'll drag the black in there. Just delete that one at the edge there. Oh, did I do it on the wrong layer there? Yeah, I did. Okay, so it doesn't matter massively. What we'll do is, I thought I'd got it on a separate layer, but it wasn't. We'll just paint over that edge a little bit there. Just want to keep it clean as it goes into the corner there. So now we've got that jaggedy edge, which will look a bit like cross-hatching. So again, File, Share, JPEG. And let's put that in the same place, so save to files. And we want to go into our Nomad, Matcaps, there we go. What's this one going to be called? We'll call it Red 3. Okay, so that'll do for now. We might have to come back to that if we're not happy. And now we'll switch back to Nomad. So how do we get those in? So basically you go back up to your shading, and then in here you've got import. And we'll just go and find our folder that we've just talked about. So it's Nomad, and you want Matcaps. And then we've got Red 1, 2. Oh, actually, I don't think I saved number 3. There we go. There's the first one. Import number 2. And there you go. So now you can see how that's working. So with number 1, where you just had this red at the side, there's a few different ones that I've been doing here. What you can see there is that it basically gives you black from this bottom edge and then red everywhere else. Now, if you want to you could simply use that and you could just enhance it, which I'll show you how to do that in a moment. What you could do is you could go back in and just enhance that a little bit. Remember we did the white one. Now what that's done is given you the little bit of white highlight, which may or may not work for what you're doing. So how else can we enhance this now? So one thing that we need to do is change the eyeballs. They need to look a different way. So we'll select the eyeballs, so click on them so that you've got them selected, and then go up to your paint and then find a different material. So we want something like let's just make a completely add new. We'll go down here and we will turn our Matcap to something completely white, and then use global Matcap, turn that off, and then basically anything that we flood in now will flood onto those eyes and be locked onto those eyes. We did blue then, so white. Go back to our head and let's make sure we were on, I think the last one was this one, wasn't it, with the white on it. And that then basically means that because we turned Matcap global off here, you basically can do individual Matcaps per model that you've got. So we're still not quite right yet because I'm not liking the look. I don't like that white glossy. It doesn't look like a comic book to me. So we'll turn that off and we'll turn that one on, which has got the hatching at the bottom, and see if that works for us. So in some ways it does, but it still isn't giving me the look that I want everywhere. So what you can do is you can go in and enhance it. I'll switch it back to just the straightforward, this one. So basically just the black and the outlined red. And we're going to actually paint on it. So you can go paint and then change the color to black. Make sure your intensity is all the way up, intensity low. and then we can just simply paint on the surface the areas that aren't looking like they're inking enough, or are being looking like ink enough. So keep the brush low, and then we'll just do his hair down the back here. It's a tiny little Hellboy looking kind of demon, baby Hellboy kind of affair. So let's paint the black all the way around here. Try and get some nice defined edges if you're inking it. And then what we can also do is come right around the front. So rather than relying on the material to do this bit, we're relying on painting on top of it, on top of the Matcap, should I say. So this is quite a good way of just enhancing the look that you've got. Almost there. Okay. And then one last thing to do, make sure you don't touch the eyes when you do this, the eyeballs, but then blacken out the outline of the eye. Like so. There we go. And we might even just highlight a couple of other areas that we want in shadow that haven't been picked up enough with the Matcap. So like under the lip, like so. And that's given us much more of an inked look. I'll actually ink under the lips. And I'll take that ink all the way out to the cheek fold. And now we're starting to get there. Now we're starting to feel like we're close to the look that we want. Perhaps we'll even do up to the end of the horns. Make those black. And we're not a million miles off now. So if you now change the Matcap, let's just change it to some of these lighter ones that we've done. You can see the black remains. I'm switching between them all now. And you'll eventually get a look that works really well for what you're after. There's so many ways you can enhance this and change it. Obviously, you can just go black and white. You can go, multiple colours. Be careful because it does look a bit glossy like this. Whenever you put a highlight light in, I find that, like we did with this red one, I just think it loses what we're trying to do because we want a flat colour really. Just try and keep it to simple flat colours like this, and change the colours if you need to change like the eyes. Just make sure that you change the material just for those eyes. We can just keep going really if we want to keep enhancing it. It's almost like doing the ink over the top. As I said, it's enhancing what the Matcap has given us as a starting point. So we're faking the shadows really because we're drawing right up to where the shadows are be driven by the texture map that we gave it. Let's just give him some nice eyebrows up here. Again, I'm drawing these on. And because it's completely black and the material's not, it's not what we call the PBR, so the physically based rendering. If it was PBR, it would be responding to the light in the scene, and obviously we don't want that. We want it just driven by the Matcap. You can do this in Forger as well. If you go into the lighting in Forger, you can use what's called a lit sphere. So it's exactly the same process if you're more of a Forger user. Just check out lit sphere and see if that works for you. But that should really give us enough in Nomad here now to we can render that now, render an image out and take that as our starting point of our first little comic piece. I'm just going to keep painting on here for a moment until I get the look that I quite like. So I'm going to bring that hair around. I know he's a baby, but he's got more hair than most babies, I think. And you can't paint this in the Matcap in the same way, because it will move around the model based on how the model is reacting to that Matcap, almost like the lighting. So some of it being done in here is absolutely fine, and then some of it being done. Let's just try use the move tool. I'm going to turn symmetry off now, and we're just going to break the symmetry a little bit. Let's try and get some character into this guy now. So I'll bring his mouth up here, and we'll close this eye down a little bit on this side, so he's got like a sly little smile, ear up, ear down, and we'll just twist that neck round a little bit so he's got a cheeky little smile. And I think what we'll do is we'll go to the eyes, and we'll add a little red dot in the middle, just give us a nice fiery red dot right down in the middle. So go back to paint, red, and just see what this looks like. Yeah, you see it looks, gives him a little bit more of that cheeky character, doesn't it? I'm going to zoom right in. Keep that setting quite high. Didn't want white then, wanted black. And then black here. There we go. So we've got a bit of life back in the eyes. Let's just try. I don't know whether this will work. We'll just put a little highlight in there. Yeah. So there you go. So that should respond nicely. Now, as you turn it around, you can see. What I'll do is I'll render a sheet of these, and that's a good way of testing. Is just to go all the way around and give yourself a what we call a contact sheet. So we literally, render each little bit all the way around, so we can see what he looks like from the front, what he looks like from the side, the back. I didn't paint the hair going down the back, so that looks a bit strange, doesn't it? We might even want to do a little bit more enhancement, so draw in a few more lines. But that's how you use Matcaps if you want them to look like comic Matcaps. They're very, very simple to use, and quite effective if you want to have a go at them. Just the big thing to remember is don't be using PBR. If you switch to PBR, you're going to get whatever the material is going to respond to these environments here. So you're going to use Matcap, and you'll find quite a few in there already. Some might just look like this, which might look like skin. You might have already been using these and not realizing they were Matcaps. And then these are the ones that obviously I've made or downloaded or bought. And you can try. Obviously, that's with black at the top, see? It looks very different than when you do something like this with black at the bottom. So hopefully that's given you a good understanding of how to get into using Matcaps for comic-looking art. As part of the Infinity and Beyond section of the Lakes International Comic Festival in October, I'm going to be doing a live VR session with Adobe Medium, which is a sculpting package that you can use in VR, and it's great for anyone who's come from a 2D background or who's an illustrator or a comic artist and they want to stretch their wings into 3D and they don't want to spend a lot of time learning the technicalities of a lot of programs. It's a great program just to dive in, and you're in a virtual reality space, so you're in the room with the model that you're creating, and you can then play around with shape and scale and form and all of the different things that you'd want to do as a creature designer and certainly as a comic book illustrator. So I'll do a little bit about how we would render it in other programs as well, but the core of the demo is about using VR to create comic art. If you're enjoying these sorts of videos, then give the video a thumbs up for us. It really does help us to show new artists that we're doing a good job and that you appreciate what we're doing. If you don't like it and it's something that's not working for you, then please let us know. We do respond well to criticism, and we adjust what we're doing to get it right for the future. We're always looking for new subscribers. We're growing massively now. We're up to sort of like towards 4,000 subscribers now, which is fantastic, and it gives me more confidence to do more videos to help more people. So subscribe to the channel, give us hit the notification bell, and hopefully we can keep giving you content in the future on a Wednesday and on a Friday.